a former slot technician just revealed something casino management has kept quiet for years. Certain machines are programmed to pay significantly better than others. After interviewing 17 former casino employees across Las Vegas, Atlantic City, and tribal casinos, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Machine number 1, classic triple red hot sevens. This is where former floor supervisors started every conversation. Michael, an 8-year MGM technician, didn't hesitate when asked about actual payout rates. The quarter denomination version typically runs between 94 and 96% ARTP, according to the programming specifications he accessed during his tenure. That's 8 to 10 percentage points higher than most modern video slots, sitting right next to it on the same floor. The reason traces back to simpler programming and older PR sheets installed during a different regulatory era when these machines first hit casino floors. Jessica, a former casino host, described how seasoned regulars who understood this would walk straight past the flashing video screens and hunt for these specific cabinets. The mathematics work in your favor more consistently because lower volatility means frequent small to medium wins rather than the feast or famine cycles programmed into newer games. Casinos tolerate these higher payout rates because the machines generate less revenue per hour due to slower play speeds. Players aren't hammering the spin button every 3 seconds like they do on modern touchscreens. But if you think 96% is good, wait until you hear what a former Caesars technician told me about machine number 2. Machine number 2. Wheel of Fortune, but not the version you're thinking about. The original 3-reel mechanical version, not the video slot machines plastered across every casino floor in America. David, a former IGT contractor, explained something that shocked me during our interview. Those original 3-reel versions often carry 92 to 94% RTP compared to 86 to 88% on the video versions with all the bells and animated graphics. The difference comes down to legacy contracts, grandfather clauses, and original PAR sheets that were never updated when the brand expanded into video territory. A player named Margaret tracked her results over 6 months on one of these machines and documented a 93.2% return across hundreds of sessions. Casinos keep these machines despite the lower hold percentage because of nostalgia factors and premium floor placement fees. They can charge the manufacturer. The catch is finding them. They're being systematically phased out and replaced with the lower-paying video versions every quarter. Before I reveal machine number 3, I need your help. Subscribe and comment which casino you play at most often. Now, machine number 3 is where things get interesting, because this is when a former slot director told me about the ugly machine strategy. Machine number 3, Double Diamond, single line version. Robert, a former slot director with 15 years across multiple tribal casinos, leaned forward when explaining what he called the ugly machine strategy. The worse a machine looks, the better it might actually pay. Those double diamond single line versions sitting in outdated cabinets with scratched screens are often programmed at 92 to 95% RTP. Casinos use these machines strategically, placing them in low-traffic areas to balance floor-wide hold percentages for regulatory compliance. Linda, a former change attendant, described a regular player named Tom, who would walk past every flashy video slot, every progressive jackpot display, every brand-new cabinet with surround sound, and head straight to what she called the ugly corner near the back restrooms. Tom tracked his play over 18 months, and averaged a 94.1% return across 847 documented hours. The EOS psychology is brilliant from the casino's perspective. Management assumes players won't sit at boring machines with basic graphics and no bonus features, so they can afford higher payout rates without significantly impacting revenue. Former employees revealed placement patterns worth noting. These machines consistently appear near restrooms, off main aisles by cashier cages, anywhere foot traffic naturally decreases. Visual cues include older cabinet designs, minimal accent lighting, and chairs that haven't been upgraded in a decade. And speaking of machines, casinos hide in plain sight. Machine number 4 changes everything if you know exactly what to look for. Machine number 4. Jacks or better video poker, but only the full pay version. Multiple former employees mentioned this game, though every single one emphasized critical specifics that separate winners from losers. Marcus, a former surveillance operator, explained the 9-6 designation that most players walk right past without understanding. 9 coins paid for a full house, 6 coins for a flush. That specific pay table produces a 99.54% RTP with perfect strategy. The catch runs deeper than most players realize. Most machines on the floor are 8-5 or 7-5 versions, paying only 96 to 97%, and the pay tables look nearly identical unless you know exactly which numbers matter. Sandra, a former pit boss, described watching management rearrange an entire section of video poker machines, burying the few remaining full pay games behind rows of short pay versions with identical cabinet designs. Casinos still offer these games because of state regulations, player expectations, and loss leader strategies for high limit rooms where they recover profits through other games. Karen, a 12-year employee, revealed that full pay machines appear most frequently in locals' casinos rather than tourist properties on the strip. A former slot attendant provided the exact pay table sequence to memorize: 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 25, 50, 800. Former employees watched a professional gambler named James play 60-plus hours weekly for 3 consecutive years on the same 2 machines. The skill factor separates this from pure slots, since optimal strategy card usage remains rare among casual players who donate back that half% edge through mistakes. But here's where a former area slot manager told me something that shocked even me about machine number 5. Machine number 5, Bonus Poker Deluxe, full pay version. Patrick, a former area manager with 20 years at station casinos, sat back in his chair during our interview and said something I'll never forget. This is the machine we hoped players wouldn't discover. The technical specifications tell a story casino management would prefer, remained buried in programmer documentation. 100.17% RTP with perfect play on the full pay version. Read that number again. The machine theoretically pays more than 100%, creating a mathematically positive expectation game where the player holds the advantage over the house. Before that sounds too good to be true, understand the immediate qualifications. Perfect strategy execution is required, meaning 0 mistakes across thousands of hands. The variance runs extremely high, producing brutal downswings that drain bankrolls before mathematical expectation materializes. Most players never achieve the theoretical return because they deviate from optimal strategy during actual play sessions. Jennifer, a former casino analyst, broke down why casinos still offer these machines despite the mathematical disadvantage. Player errors return that 1.17% edge back to the house. Alcohol service compounds mistake frequency. Side bet options drain additional money. The psychological warfare of high variance forces players into larger bets chasing losses. A former security officer named Thomas described tracking an advantage player called David C., who logged 40-plus hours weekly on these specific machines. Thomas started watching out of pure curiosity about whether anyone could actually beat the math long-term. Over a 14-month documented period, David finished up $23,000. Casino management eventually approached David and requested he play other games. They didn't ban him, didn't accuse him of anything illegal, simply asked him to move along because his disciplined play was costing them money on that specific machine. Finding these machines requires pay table verification skills most players never develop. The full pay version appears almost exclusively in quarter denomination, though even that's becoming increasingly rare as casinos replace them with short pay variants that look identical on the surface. Former employees revealed placement patterns showing only 1 or 2 machines per property, usually tucked inside high-limit rooms where minimum bets discourage casual players from occupying the seats. Now, if you're thinking video poker holds all the secrets, machine number 6 proves pure slot machines can still deliver legitimate value. Machine number 6. Blazing Sevens Progressive, quarter denomination specifically. 3 different former technicians from 3 separate casino companies cited this exact title when asked about slot machines with verified high payout rates. The base RTP runs between 91 and 93%, according to the programming specifications they accessed during maintenance and regulatory compliance work. Crystal, a former slot manager, explained how the progressive element adds effective RTP beyond that base percentage. The math breaks down into three components: base game return, progressive meter contribution, and the must hit by feature that guarantees a win before the jackpot reaches $500. Ahmed, a former floor supervisor, described a regular player named Susan who tracked her results across 8 months of documented play. Susan's spreadsheet showed 92.7% return during base gameplay, plus she hit two separate progressive jackpots during that tracking period. This particular Bally game maintains its presence on casino floors because of an established player base that would complain loudly if management removed their preferred machines. The must-hit mystery progressive creates an advantage play opportunity that former technician Marcus explained in detail. The jackpot must hit by $500, but the average hit point sits around $463, according to internal data he accessed. Advantage players monitor progressive levels across multiple properties and only play once the meter climbs above $440. Michelle, a former slot attendant, described watching the same groups of players circle the casino floor with notebooks, checking every Blazing Sevens progressive meter, never playing until the numbers reach their threshold. The machines typically sit near main aisles, specifically for progressive visibility, encouraging players to watch the meters climb and feel compelled to play. The catch is medium-high volatility requiring bankroll patience most recreational players can't maintain. But wait until you hear what a former Harrah's slot manager told me about the best-paying penny slot most players completely overlook. Machine number 7, Lightning Link. Happy Lantern, but only in one specific configuration that most players walk right past without realizing what they're missing. Brian, a former Caesars slot manager, leaned across the table during our interview and said something that changed how I looked at penny slots forever. Not all Lightning Link games are created equal, and the math differences between themes in the same family will shock you. The Happy Lantern version with penny denomination, 50 lines, and max bet carries a 90 to 92% RTP according to the programming specifications he reviewed during floor audits. Compare that to 86 to 88% on other themes in the Lightning Link family sitting 3 feet away in identical cabinets. Danny, a former IGT field technician, explained how different math models get applied to different themes within the same game family. The manufacturers create variation deliberately, and casinos exploit player ignorance about these differences. Rebecca, a former compliance officer, spent weeks comparing payor sheets across the entire Lightning Link lineup and confirmed the disparity. She showed me documentation revealing how theme selection impacts your mathematical expectation more than most players realize. A regular player named Frank became a case study that Laura, a former casino host, tracked informally over 11 months. Frank only played Happy Lantern, refused to touch other Lightning Link themes regardless of how attractive the graphics looked, and documented his results in a spreadsheet that would make an accountant proud. His tracked return over that period measured 91.3%, and he hit the hold and spin feature an average of once every 83 spins, according to his logs. Laura admitted she would actively steer players toward Happy Lantern when they asked which Lightning Link game to play, though management never explicitly told her to do this. The psychology behind player behavior fascinated her. Most players choose Lightning Link themes based purely on visual appeal, animal preferences, or whatever cabinet happens to be available when they walk up. They have no idea the dragon theme sitting next to the lantern theme is mathematically programmed to take their money 4% faster. Finding the right version requires checking the specific cabinet design and theme artwork before inserting a single dollar. The denomination settings matter critically as well, and a former technician revealed how to verify these before playing. But here's the critical warning that every former employee emphasized. Only the specific version and configuration delivers that 90 to 92% return. Other Lightning Link games, even other versions of Happy Lantern at different denominations, drop back down to that 86 to 88% range that defines most modern penny slots. The machines get mixed together on the floor with no special placement designation, no signs indicating which version pays better, nothing to help players make informed decisions. And speaking of games where configuration details determine everything, machine number 8 created genuine controversy among the former employees I interviewed, with several refusing to even discuss it on record. Machine number 8, Ultimate X Video Poker, but not played the way 99% of people approach these machines. Marcus T., a former surveillance supervisor, described what he called multiplier vulturing, a practice that exists in a gray area between advantage play and exploitation. Players leave multipliers on the machine for the next person when they cash out and walk away. Those glowing numbers on the screen represent boosted RTP for whoever sits down next, and the math becomes genuinely favorable if you know what you are looking at. A former slot technician explained how Ultimate X programming works mechanically. Winning hands create multipliers that apply to the next hand dealt, but only if you continue playing at the same bet level. When someone leaves the machine with active multipliers displayed, that value transfers to whoever plays next. James, a former security officer, described a professional vulture named Kevin who walked casino floors for 6 to 8 hours, daily, never playing a single hand unless he found abandoned machines with multipliers glowing on the screen. James started tracking Kevin out of pure fascination with the methodology and discipline required. His estimates suggested Kevin averaged 102 to 105% RTP by exclusively playing inherited multipliers rather than generating his own. 4 different former employees from completely separate properties mentioned observing vultures working their casinos, suggesting this practice exists everywhere video poker machines operate. Why do casinos allow it? A former pit boss explained that most players fundamentally misunderstand the Ultimate X feature, and casinos profit enormously from the original players who generate then abandon those multipliers. The vulture might gain a 2 to 5% edge, but the house already extracted 15 to 20% from whoever left that value behind. Multiple former employees expressed split opinions about the ethics involved. Some viewed it as legitimate advantage play requiring knowledge and effort. Others considered it exploitation of gambling addiction, taking advantage of people who lost control and walked away from money on the screen. The mechanical process requires checking every video poker screen before inserting money, looking specifically for glowing multiplier numbers above each hand position. The catch involves time investment and inconsistency. Kevin might walk for 3 hours before finding enough valuable multipliers to justify his effort. Rachel, a former slot host, described learning Kevin's routes and patterns after watching him work her casino for 2 years straight. She knew which sections he'd check first, what time he'd arrive, when he'd take breaks. The best times for finding abandoned multipliers, according to multiple former employees, occur late night and early morning, when recreational players lose track of their screens and stumble away without cashing out. Properly, now the final machine on this list generated more discussion, more disagreement, and more genuine surprise than anything else these 17 former employees revealed. Machine number 9, Megabucks. The progressive jackpot system that stretches across Nevada in a networked web of linked machines, and the choice that created genuine division among every former employee I interviewed. Susan R., a former compliance director with 18 years across multiple Nevada properties, described this revelation as the most counterintuitive truth in casino mathematics. The base ARTP sits around 89 to 90%, numbers that sound mediocre until you understand how progressive contribution calculations actually work. When you factor the progressive jackpot into the mathematical model, the effective RTP climbs to 94 to 95%. A former casino analyst walked me through the calculation methodology during a 2-hour conversation that fundamentally changed how I understood progressive systems. Most players assume progressive jackpots mean the casino extracts more money from every spin to feed that growing number on the display. The mathematics work in the exact opposite direction. Every dollar contributed to the progressive meter represents money being returned to players rather than kept by the house, and that contribution pushes the effective return percentage higher than most flat top machines sitting on the same floor. Five different former employees from completely separate casino companies cited Megabucks as technically the highest paying machine they ever worked around, when you include the progressive element in RTP calculations. But every single one of them followed that statement with the same word: variance. The mathematical truth exists in a completely different universe from practical reality. Paul, a former security director, tracked Megabucks players throughout his 12-year career out of morbid curiosity about who actually wins these machines. Thousands of players cycled through the seats during his tenure. He personally witnessed 3 jackpot winners and countless 5-figure losses that never came close to triggering the big prize. One winner stayed in his memory because of how the floor reacted when the alarm sounded. Cynthia, a 74-year-old retired teacher, hit $18.2 million on a random Tuesday afternoon after playing the same machine for 90 minutes. Derek, a former slot manager, described his relationship with Megabucks as mathematical truth versus practical reality. The numbers don't lie about RTP when you include progressive contribution, but variance runs so extreme that virtually no individual player ever achieves the theoretical return during their lifetime of play. Multiple former employees separated into camps based on age and experience. Younger former workers universally said, never play it. Veteran employees with 20-plus years acknowledged the technical RTP accuracy while admitting they wouldn't touch the machine with their own money. Tom, a former floor supervisor, laughed when I asked if he'd ever played Megabucks, despite knowing the RTP numbers. Understanding the mathematics didn't create desire, it eliminated any illusion about beating variance. Susan R. provided the closing thought that ties everything together. Best RTP doesn't mean best game for your money. But here's what shocked me most. When I asked these employees what they'd actually play themselves if they walked into a casino tomorrow, their answers revealed something casino management definitely doesn't want discussed. Of the 17 former employees interviewed, only 4 still gamble with any regularity, and all 4 play video poker exclusively. Robert, the former slot director from earlier, summarized it perfectly. Knowing the math ruined it for me. I've seen the back end of these systems. I know every machine is programmed to take more than it gives over any significant period of time. Jessica, the former casino host who described players hunting for classic triple red hot sevens, admitted she hasn't played a slot machine in 8 years despite spending a decade surrounded by them daily. Jennifer, the analyst who explained bonus poker deluxe mathematics, distinguishes between best RTP and winning strategy in a way most players never consider. Even 99% RTP means losing 1% of everything you bet over time, and time always wins that war of attrition. Patrick, the former area manager, delivered the statement that matters most. I gave you the best paying machines available on casino floors today. I didn't say you'd win money playing them. Truth number 1. RTP doesn't mean what you think it means, and this misunderstanding costs players more money than any other mathematical misconception in gambling. Rebecca, the former compliance officer who compared pair sheets across entire game families, explained how players fundamentally misinterpret return-to-player percentages in ways that create completely unrealistic expectations. The percentage gets calculated across millions of spins, not your 4-hour session on a Saturday night. A player sitting at a 95% RTP machine can easily lose 100% of their bankroll before walking away, and the mathematics don't care about your individual experience. Multiple former employees describe the same conversation happening thousands of times across their careers. Players confuse RTP with probability of winning during a single session, treating that percentage like a guarantee rather than a long-term statistical average that requires massive sample sizes to materialize. Michael, the former MGM technician from the beginning, stated something that deserves repeating. I've watched players lose $2,000 in an hour on a 96% RTP machine. then argue with floor staff about how the machine must be broken because the RTP promised they'd only lose $80. The variance factor creates swings that overwhelm RTP advantages during any realistic playing session. And higher RTP doesn't mean lower risk in the short term that actually matters to your wallet. Truth number two, location and timing matter more than most players realize, and former employees revealed patterns that casinos absolutely don't advertise. Robert, the former slot director, explained casino floor strategy in terms that made perfect sense once you understood the business model. High RTP machines get deliberately positioned in low traffic areas, off main aisles, anywhere foot traffic naturally decreases. But timing creates another variable entirely. Five former employees mentioned end of month RTP rebalancing, where casinos legally reconfigure machines within approved ranges to meet regulatory requirements. Ahmed, the former floor supervisor, described monthly floor resets where machines got reprogrammed overnight based on performance data from the previous 30 days. The locals' casino advantage emerged as a consistent theme across multiple interviews. Karen explained how locals' properties average 2 to 4% higher RTP across their entire floor compared to tourist casinos on the Strip, though comp rates drop and amenities disappear in exchange for better mathematics. Crystal returned to emphasize how the same machine title at different casinos can carry completely different RTP programming, making location selection as important as game selection. Truth number three, the house always wins, but you can lose slower, and that reframing changes everything about how you approach these machines. All 17 former employees agreed on this fundamental principle without a single dissenting voice. Jennifer came back with final mathematics that matter more than any specific game recommendation. Even the best machines represent long-term mathematical losses, and pretending otherwise creates the exact thinking that leads to devastating financial consequences. Marcus T. offered the reframe that former employees consistently endorsed. Think of it as paying for entertainment, not investing for returns. Fixed loss limits received universal support as the only sustainable approach to recreational gambling. Linda described Tom, the player who treated his slot play as an entertainment budget rather than an income opportunity. $200 weekly, quit immediately when gone, never chased losses under any circumstances, maintained this discipline for 4 consecutive years. Linda explained why employees respected Tom's approach, even though he lost money long term. He had fun, stayed in control, never begged for markers or ATM advances, never missed his mortgage payment because of gambling losses. Brian delivered the final practical wisdom. Tom lost money over those 4 years, probably 15 to 20,000 total, but he played longer on the same money than players betting randomly on low RTP machines. Patrick's closing statement ties everything together. Best paying machines let you play longer on the same bankroll, not win more money over time.